Hey, what's up everybody? How's it going tonight? Or this morning? Just turned Tuesday. 12:16 a.m. East Coast. Got Jupiter in view with the 4 moons. From left to right, got Callisto at the very bottom left, Ganymede, and then Jupiter in the middle, Great Red Storm. Right to the right of that is Io, and likely we can see the shadow of Io on Jupiter. Got Europa at the very top. Saturn was also coming up, trailing, looking nice tonight. Got a little bit of atmospheric turbulence, but it's pretty clear. Just hop it in the chat, say what's up to everybody. What's up, Plain Truth and Jedi Princess, how are you? And Karen Skinner, welcome back. All right, taking a little footage of this wide, and then I'll go back to the zoom because it was looking kind of nice. I was really interested in the storms and the Great Red Storms, Great Red Spot. It's just hanging out. So let's hang out. Let's hang out with it for a little bit. Not going to be a marathon stream tonight, just an hour-ish. And yeah, moon is going to rise too late, like 4 or 5 a.m. So probably not going to stream that long. Anyway, let me know if you have any thoughts, comments. What's going on, Silent Murmur? Welcome. Let's play some of this. I'm trying to play some songs I haven't played before. Let's do something new. What's up, Silver Umbrella? Welcome all.
Questions, what's up with it?
questions, ask questions, what's up with it now? They got skipped to society, bring 8 billion are watching, and you play us power the minds and live in it, breathe it. But I'm the soul for you until you went away. Catching stars for you till they leave again. Hey, what's up, everybody? Just saw some people joining. What's going on? Like I said, Silver Umbrella, welcome. Microwave Soda, Dapple Ben, nice to see you. Aaron Moorfeld, and that's it. Cool. If you mean King Crimson, that's very kind of you. Adrian Ballew's ridiculous. Actually, all of King Crimson's amazing. But it's funny, I wrote songs like this and then I was kind of late to the King Crimson party. Alright, more jams. Remember, hit that 4K if you got it, and let me know if the audio is coming out well or if it's distorting at all. Just trying to keep the sound quality high. Yo, what's up, what's up? How's it going, everybody? Want to say what's up to Miguel, what's happening, and Genghis Khan, what's going on, and whoever else is joining, hanging out. So yeah, I adjusted the saturation a little bit, so now it's a little bit more natural looking. It's also fringing a little bit, red and blue, because it's still rising, But yeah, you can definitely see some of the bottom of Saturn at the bottom right, very ever so slight under the rings. Yeah, it's pretty noticeable. Anyway, just chilling with y'all here. It's a nice night. Let's keep hanging out with Kronos a little bit, and we'll head back to Jupiter.
for the edge, flip it for the world, flip it for the edge, flip it for the world. How did you know that? 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 How
All right. So, Jupiter's racing away pretty quick, so I'm going to stay on Jupes right now and kind of close out with Saturn. But I guess why not? I wanted to do something different, which was I want to read some comments from the Thunderbolts Project video, any number of them, and just comment on those comments. Let's see if it's annoying or fun. But first I want to find a backing track. Let me know if this is a good idea, but I don't know, it just kind of annoys me when I'm reading them, and I always feel like I kind of want to share that with my Take Back Space fans. Let me put something though. I'm also happy to answer or debate in this chat room, but let's see. Thunderbolts of the Gods. Commentception, exactly. I just find them so ridiculous. Some of these are so bad. Alright, so there's one called Standard Theory of Moon's Origins Shattered from a month ago. Whoops. Mute that. I'm going to lower my background a little bit more. Alright, so Thunderbolts Project doesn't really have an alternative story to the origin of the moon. However, they try and continually point out that this idea of the moon forming from rubble after Theta hits Earth during an early collision, creates a rubble accretion disk, and then slowly collapses into the moon, cools down, and then we have the moon that we have today after a series of bombardment phases that create all the craters and features like Aristarchus, etc. Kind of wish I had the moon up, but y'all can go back and check other videos or yesterday's video. But let's see. I'm also trying to keep Jupiter in view. You can see what's really cool is like to the top right of the red storm, there's a little nodule, and then there are kind of two flows leaking down from the top into the mid-band. It's really nice detail tonight. So I'm going to read the stupid comments, not all the nice comments. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out whether I should just read all of them or just read some, but then I'll be curating live, and I don't know, I'm thinking out loud here. Let me just keep the music going while I find something. This is not going as smoothly as I thought. Yeah, what's going on, C. Smith? How's it going? It's been a while. Yeah, Ben, in all honesty, like, what I was trying to do is, I don't even think it was Thunderbolts videos. I mean, even though that could be the case, it was actually things like, what was I was looking up? I was looking up, I was really looking through the phys.org articles and trying to see why we still have this, or at least why people write like this, and just, I think the assumption of black holes, that's what I was really looking into, like how we live in a reality now where black hole science is completely settled, and even though there's really no proof of them, they keep talking about it as if it is settled science. And then, yeah, I think I need to prepare a little bit more. I got all ahead of myself tonight. I'll see if I can't find something while I play some jams. A whole lot of nothing, C. Smith. I've just been doing a lot of research, playing a lot of music, and trying to stay offline as much as possible, except doing these streams. Yeah, I think that was anticlimactic, but I'll just reinforce the idea that we should really look into things like the cosmic microwave background radiation, redshift. We should look into the speed of light. We should reassess the distances and time and space, and a lot of other things. I think I just got a little too tired tonight to talk about it. I was all amped earlier, but now my brain is just like toast. So forgive me, honest show. Just gonna jam with some music, and then I'll try and prepare better for the next time. I was just having like a conniption earlier reading all these articles about a trillionth of a second after the Big Bang, and scientists baffled, and I was just like getting all in a tizzy. But whatever, let's just jam tonight. I don't know if y'all have any thoughts. I'm happy to chat about it. But yeah, I just got wind taken out of my sails trying to look this up in front of y'all. What about, I'm looking at some tunes here. This is like an early version of the song. Let's see what this sounds like. Yeah, what's up, Rick Dangerous? A billionth of a second after the Big Bang. this is so unmixed. That's cool. Alright, I think it's coming back to me now. So I think I found this channel called Licks Friedman. And Licks Friedman has had this guy, I want to say Eric Feinstein, on. I think that's who I was looking up. Anyway, they were talking about this geometric unification, and I was thinking, oh man, here we go. Now they're talking about plasma, lattice, and revealing all these structures, but it turns out his conversation with this guy, Licks Friedman, is just so convoluted. And people in the comments, it's funny how they react to things like that. They're always like, they are suspicious of people who are now just talking all this nonsense and total math, but they also are so confused that they're not sure if they're impressed or dissatisfied. Am I wrong? Is that not the guy's name? Eric Weinstein. You can just find any number of people, yeah. So Eric Weinstein is this, I want to say he's a physicist, theoretical physicist, and I think he was on Joe Rogan recently, and he was talking about geometric unification, and I really wanted to talk about that, but it was just so crazy because I think ultimately what I wanted to say is that it's so much more simple than some of these cats make it. I think like the Royal Institute, and you look at the scientists from NASA and they really try and convolute and make things sound really pompous and grand in ways that don't make sense. And what I want to show is that this geometry is really very simple. Everybody understands it. Everybody's seen the shape of the Earth. They've seen their own hands. They know their bodies. And geometric unification doesn't require advanced math to understand it. It's just knowing how bubbles work, and you can see bubbles react in a sink. And so if we're at the center of a plasma bubble that has consciousness and memory, and everything at every size has that, then we can envision a very complex, interrelated world. But really, you don't need all this mumbo jumbo to describe it. You can just feel it and know that you're part of it. It's how we connect with one another. It's how we speak. When they say the air vibrates between us and you hear it, what is vibrating? This is the etheric plasma, air, or in space, ether. Whatever density plasma is, it either resonates and you can see it, it resonates and you can hear it, you can feel it. And depending on the frequency of the resonance, that determines what type of matter it really is. And everything around that matter is antimatter or counter space that holds that into place, like the words on a page. Yeah, I think that's the nutshell of it. I think if you come across this guy, Eric Weinstein, or any of these videos talking about geometric unification or the grand unified theory, if they're not talking about plasma shells and this toroidal hyperbolic geometry, the recursive fractal geometry that that Ken Wheeler talks about, that Tesla was talking about, that many that really understood this were talking about. And I mean, I'm remixing all these different ideas. I'm certainly no physicist, but it makes a lot of sense in even layman's terms to imagine that the human body is just a series of complex interrelated systems, and then groups of people are the same, et cetera, in both dimensions, up and down in both scales. So that's sort of what I want to talk about. But yeah, it's just if you look stuff like that up, you'll see that Thunderbolts Project is not really doing this unification concept. they're not really talking about consciousness. They have a couple of videos that talk about what matter is, but it comes at it from a really philosophical bent. And yeah, and then you hear a lot of other people who are talking about the popular mainstream cosmology, and even though they talk about plasma, they don't talk about it in a way that's really simple to understand. They talk about it in a way that's highly complex, highly jargon heavy, and it just really detracts from the fact that it is really quite simple. So that's a little thought. Hope it made some sense. Yeah, I don't think there was a wave. I think it's just turbulent tonight, but really it's killer detail as it chills. So one thing I was noticing also is that if you look at your hand has these imprints, right? We'll just look at your right hand and look at Jupiter, and you'll see that the same types of current flows exist on Jupiter in a way as does your hand, and other parts of Earth, I'm sure, and planets. These types of laminar flows, fluid dynamics, and dendritic structures exist throughout, from skin and rivers and planet surfaces. And I feel like it's either some sort of system that like exists at every scale, or it's just a system that has these rule sets that manifest on every scale. But Jupiter and humans are really quite related and not so alien after all. It's funny, we have craft right next to Jupiter, yet scientists can't say anything new about it except that the pictures are great. Let's see. Ben says, idiots love to make simple things seem confusing, and intelligent people know how to make complex things seem simple. Well said. Rick says, so if I want to grab the footage, go back to like a few seconds after you mention Joe Rogan, you'll see the lunar wave go over Jupiter. That's awesome. I will have to look at it afterwards. I'll just make a note here. You can actually see there's a timestamp at the very bottom left corner. So if you want to just drop that in the chat, everyone can take a look. We can verify it. What else was I reading? Yeah, phys.org. If you punch in astronomy and space, let's read a couple of these articles. So, first one says, research sheds new light on intelligent life existing across the galaxy. And so, if there were a video about this, you'd immediately get a bunch of comments about, is there even intelligent life on Earth? Ha 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 ha, right? So first of all, there's this kind of layer of just mockery, especially like when you mention Uranus, or you mention intelligent life, or you mention we're destroying this planet. People immediately get on that bandwagon and start just reiterating old jokes. Nothing wrong with them, but really doesn't get us anywhere. And then, let's see. So the first article on phys.org is looking for intelligent life across the galaxy. It says, is anyone out there? This is an age-old question that researchers have now shed new light on with a study that calculates there could be more than 30 intelligent civilizations throughout our galaxy. So this idea that space programs spend tons of money trying to find alien civilizations is interesting, and I'm sure a lot of people would support it, but I feel like I was thinking about how much money has gone into SETI, S-E-T-I, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, and how long SETI has been running, which I'm going to double check here. SETI origins. Yeah, so 1959, 1960. Yeah, so what is it? Let's say 60 years now. We've had this, the origin of the SETI Institute, etc. Probably going to be tough to find exactly how much money has been spent, but thus far, not a single real shred of alien intelligence. And yet these programs still continue to populate our scientific literature, and it's just crazy to me. That's really the long and short of it. I mean, I could get into details, but that's the type of stuff which just gets me. Let's keep going down. What else? New lithium-rich Cepheid discovered in the Milky Way. So, this is another way to confuse people. So, a Cepheid is a type of star, and a lithium-rich Cepheid means spectroscopy has been done and they found lithium discovered in the Milky Way. So essentially, they found a new attribute for something that's already been seen in the universe, so nothing new. Third article, measuring the spin of a black hole. So immediately, this article is sketchy because they represent it as if black holes already exist, proven, and they spin, which we don't know because you can't see a black hole. And then furthermore, if you go deep into it, let's read just a little bit. It says, a black hole, at least in our current understanding, is characterized by having, quote unquote, no hair. That is, it is so simple that it can be completely described by just 3 parameters: its mass, its spin, and its electric charge. So see how confusing it is? First, they assume that black holes exist. Second, they add this electric charge to it. So hiding a secret in plain sight is just talking directly about electricity. And then at the same time, these same people talk about how space is electrically neutral, mostly. But black holes, which you can't see, you can tell what their electric charge are. I'm trying to describe this slowly and carefully, so stop me if it gets too convoluted. Yo, what's up, Lost Brooklyn? How's it going? Yeah, there's some really nice detail on Jupiter. I'm about to lose the view, so it's getting up pretty high, but as soon as it dims, I'm gonna switch over to Saturn. But we've caught like Great Red Storm all night. It's awesome. All right, fourth article. Electrically charged dust storms drive Martian chlorine cycle. So again, instead of focusing on the fact that the dust storms are electric, they talk about a chlorine cycle, which is another way to kind of just mislead people. So the scientific literati and pop science have to admit that things are electrically driven in space. But instead of saying they are electrically driven, therefore we're going to address surface features as electric scarification, never happens, which is really crazy. This is the whole point, is that if you can admit that there are dust storms on Mars that are electrically driven, that a black hole has an electric charge, that, the same thing, the first 2 articles about intelligent life and doing spectroscopy on a Cepheid both require electricity. And I don't think they would, the powers that be would not admit to electricity, but if it is that way, then really you'd have to kind of consider like what asteroids are, what comets are, the surface of the sun, the moon, Mars, and why these features exist. Let's keep going. So, Curiosity rover spots Earth and Venus while stargazing on Mars. So the rover is taking pictures of space, and all these are neat stories. There's nothing wrong with these stories inherently, but so far 6 stories and absolutely nothing fresh. Let's do another one. Observatories around the solar system team up to study sun's influence. Okay, scientists close in on 12 billion-year-old signal from the end of the universe's dark age. Yeah, here we get into the kind of BS. So what does that even mean, this idea of the dark age? They don't think, or they assume that people are gonna be manipulated by this. You know, the dark ages. People are very confused by certain types of taglines, certain types of cliches, and scientists close in on 12 billion year old signal. And this idea that they can measure something that's 12 billion years old, that they're closing in on it, it's very militaristic, and the end of the universe's dark age. These are these types of like grandiose statements that mean really nothing, except for the fact that they did an experiment, or they're about to do an experiment that's going to yield a graph, a spectrograph, or I think that's really it, a radio signal. It's nothing like what they're talking about. You're not going to discover anything new visually that you haven't discovered before. Let's see. Innovative model provides insight into the behavior of the black hole at the center of our galaxy. Another assumption that black holes are 100% valid. If you don't go into the article, it's assumed that black holes exist. All right, next one. New Horizons conducts the first interstellar parallax experiment. So for the first time ever, a spacecraft has sent back pictures from the sky so far away that some stars appear to be in different positions than we'd see from Earth. So this is something that, like, if you go into the detail of this, you'll realize that you can experience interstellar parallax or stellar parallax from Earth. And this is not really the first time this has been done. This has been done many times, but it's being done from space, which will yield really nothing except another chart that shows a dot moving from another dot to another space. Yeah, you can go on and on and on. None of these will actually yield any types of real change in science at all. And it's so interesting. That's sort of what I was reading. I was trying to go into each article and trying to understand, like, how much money is being spent on writing these articles, on getting charts, and not really doing actual astrophotography, not actually sending people to the moon, not actually talking about like what satellites are really doing and how they're being tracked, not changing how comets are viewed, not addressing the cosmic microwave background radiation, or anything Sky Scholar is talking about, not addressing the surface of the moon and the planets. All right, little rant. Very calm rant tonight. But, you know. What's going on, Vicky? Nice to see you. What's up, Arum Vorax? How's it going? Yeah, I hope I made some sense with that. I know it's all over the place. It's like reading articles to people on a live stream is not the coolest thing. But yeah, so I read all of those, and I went through all the different sections on phys.org and kind of read through a lot of it. And a lot of it is very fascinating, but it really doesn't push science forward. Like any of the things I was talking about, like potential surface scarification would yield massive amounts of research. The surface of the sun that Pierre-Marie Robitaille talks about, absolutely deep. You could write 100 articles about that. Talk about Kirchhoff, talk about black body radiation, talk about lattice structure, about transverse waves, talk about how we see the sun interact with comets. So any number of things just about the sun, or even anything like suspicious observers related, like where the sun affects earthquake activity. Then the other thing would be like the origin of the moon, the surface of the moon. Those are two massive, huge topics. Anything related to the moon is about water at the poles. That's pretty much every article about the moon is like, we're going to the moon sometime, somewhere, and the other one is about, we're going to land something, get water, and maybe see if hypothetically there's water on the poles. And so on and so forth. There are at least a dozen topics just spurred from the electric universe, from Velikovsky, maybe readdressing redshift via Halton ARP, discussing consciousness outside the human body via the biofield or the morphic resonance field, discussing easy water, Gerald Pollack's work, discussing comets and their effect on people and illness and consciousness, like Tess Clark talks about. There are so many topics that are just not even, they don't even like hint at in all these different articles. So sviz.org, it was this guy Lex Friedman. I can't find the channel right now, sorry, but it's like a hugely popular. He has all the big science names from, you know, this guy Eric Weinstein. He's got, I was gonna say Tesla, Elon Musk, and all these cats. And they talk really like right above people. And it's so obnoxious, but they make it sound like they're talking to people. And I don't think it's him specifically. I think he's really trying to talk to these people, and these are the names in science. But really, the people in science just dance around topics. People like Lawrence Krauss, and people like, I mean, Neil deGrasse is not even on that level. But I mean the real theoretical astrophysicists, Ed Witten, and any number of these cats. You listen to them talk, and they really don't know where they're going with this stuff. Just once you understand a little bit about electrical interaction and shell structure, what to look for, like why the surface of Jupiter looks the way it does. Why does your hand look like dendritic structures? It's really much simpler than they make it out to be. What other things? Maybe YouTube comments that are, you know, those really dumb comments that I was talking about how, so the video is already ridiculous about wasting money on finding extraterrestrial intelligence, and then the comments make it even dumber by making a joke about human intelligence, while also being on the internet in 2020 and kind of denouncing and decrying all the technological advances. Like I was saying the other night, this idea, the assumption that somehow aliens are more impressive than the human race is not necessarily the case, right? Maybe it is, but it could be very well that, it might very well be that the human race is the most advanced right now. Why not? You know, it's just as valid as thinking like, because you would imagine that we also have a space program that has UFOs and all this stuff. UFOs, it has flying craft that are not what we see publicly. Anyway, I got a lot of the links to which I'm talking about, in the description of the video, if you're new or you're just stumbling across this video. I've definitely been rambling on and on tonight, but let's play a little bit of music. I'm glad to see some of my space travelers with me tonight, some regulars and some people I haven't seen in a while. Definitely check out Sky Scholar, Surface of the Sun. Check out Donald Scott for The Electric Star. Check out Buddy Dougherty and Ken Wheeler for the kind of toroidal hyperboloid geometry structure. And then if you notice videos that talk about the moon's surface and they're saying perfect circles and they're saying we don't know how blah blah blah, you can always come back to this channel and check out the moon's surface, where I draw and I show all the hexagons and I explain why they have formed and why they look like other things that we see, because it's very, very simple actually. I both was watching those videos hoping that they would talk about lattice geometry and that they would talk about this unified fractal, but they don't even touch it. because they're really so indoctrinated at this point. The dogmatic process of math and making things convoluted in order to make everyone think that you're smart is way more important than actually discovering anything new. It's really sad. One day maybe I'll have the opportunity to talk to some of these guys, but even then it wouldn't matter because they don't want to know. The information is readily available. It's been available for many years. Velikovsky is very well known. They just avoid it. Same thing with all the peculiar galaxies of Halton Arp, which show that galaxies and the intrinsic redshift of galaxies and quasars, as well as connections between objects in space that were thought not to be there. He shows it in real X-ray shots from Mount Wilson. People like Halton Arp were buried by the scientific community, and my small channel here, this is where I'm going to talk about Halton Arp and keep his memory alive. Because like once you watch Halton Arp, you're like, man, like we don't have any real astronomers today. You have like shams. Alright, Jupiter's dimming, so a few more minutes here and then I'm going to switch over to Saturn and then wrap it up tonight. Let's rock a little bit. Hey y'all, so yeah, Saturn was hauling ass too. So I lost them both over the windowsill. Like I said, it's pretty steep on the ecliptic lately, so that's it for tonight. I got all tired, y'all, but at least I got a couple of thoughts out, which I was trying to do. What's going on? NGC showing up as I'm wrapping it up, but yeah, Jupiter and Saturn are rising earlier and earlier. So I will keep doing a couple of shows maybe this week, as long as the weather stays like this. Check out some Jupiter and Saturn. Otherwise, I'll play us one more song, and then I'll call it a night. I got work tomorrow, and yeah, this is how it goes. Many, many shows. Right now I got it on some stars coming up. Let me see if I can find what stars these are, but something in Capricorn. Yeah, like 16 Cap. Anyway. You were talking about that Futurama episode with the space bees. It's really cool. I love Futurama. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see. Cathartic streams and moonbeams. Hell yeah. I appreciate it, everybody. Thank you so much. Always kind and a good hang with y'all. Let's do Formidable Opponent, and I'll catch y'all really soon on the next trip. Probably tomorrow or day after. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks again. Peace.
It's your